No, muy bien. Y buenos días, buenos días. Espero que
Oh,
ustedes
Buenos
estén
días.
bien. Aquí
Ah,
está
gato.
aquí está mi gato que quiere atención, quiere mi atención. Pobrecito.
mm,
Es muy viejo, tiene problemas
um,
médicos, pero me encanta. Ok.
Pero,
Mine used to lay on top of my keyboard on the
Ah.
computer.
I have a little shelf that is supposed to specifically prevent this sort of thing, as they literally managed to lock up my computer by playing with the keys. But unfortunately, they can reach around with the paw.
mm,
So even with the shelf, they reach around and they like tap on random keys. Okay.
¿qué llaman?
Los gatos son demasiado inteligentes. They are just too smart. Ah, excelente. Vamos a practicar, vamos a hablar de rutinas, de cosas que hacemos todos los días, todas las semanas, así. Ah, ah, Así que no tengan miedo, don't be scared, no tengan miedo de interrumpirme. Don't be afraid to interrupt me or interrupt all of us at some point if you need to interject. Because if I have something on share screen, I may very well not be able to see all of your faces if you're trying to signal me to get my attention. So I'm not ignoring you, para que sepan, so that you know. Um, Bien, ok. Primero, antes de practicar un poquito, quiero saber, quiero saber si hay alguna pregunta. Is there any kind of question? ¿Hay alguna pregunta de este vídeo de la receta of the recipe? ¿Sí? ¿Hay alguna pregunta de la receta uh, de Andrea? Is there any question from that video on any blurb?
Yes, I have a question.
Andrew, bueno,
At
dime.
8:51 on the video, she she used the word, and I'm going to spell it because I don't know how to pronounce it. CHAMPURRADO. I looked it up because I didn't know it and I wanted to know what it meant, and it doesn't have a translation on Google Translate.
Aha.
And I'm wondering if you have a sense of what
Vamos
that.
a, okay, let's take a look. Vamos a ver. Let me look at the context. I normally preview again to kind of anticipate where there'll be questions, but because of my leaky pipes under my
No,
sink, I
that's
did not
okay.
do that this week. Okay. Vamos a escuchar un poquito. We're going to listen to a little bit. And I'm going to point out a couple of things in this video after we do our practice that will help get us into this week's lesson. And when she talks about Tita, Tita es un nombre cariñoso. It's an affectionate nickname. Tita es un apodo, a nickname, cariñoso para la abuela. ¿Ok? Bien, ok.
Ella nos preparaba muchas cosas para desayunar y le gustaba preparar atole por las mañanas. Una delicia, una delicia. Y es la única referencia de atole o de champurrado que
Oh, okay. Are these the two words you had a question on? ¿Sí o
Yes,
no?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ah, bien. Ok. Ah, bueno,
Corn on the
estos
cob?
ok. A veces es difícil entender. Atole es una bebida. Atole is a drink. Sometimes with translating or whatever, you might have a hard time finding some of these food related words. That
Hmm.
can be tough.
Hmm.
Atole is a corn-based beverage. Usually they use a lot of honey and cinnamon and vanilla. kind of spice it up. Okay. And champurrado. Champurrado, champurrado otra vez es una bebida, pero una bebida de chocolate. It is atole, the same atole. So the reason she's got both of these together, atole or champurrado, is that champurrado is a different version of atole, but with
Alcohol.
chocolate. And yeah,
Chocolate.
so people will throw extra things in. Anytime you are looking for a definition of some word and it doesn't show up in Google Translate, I have a couple of suggestions. One is to just pop into Google whatever that word is, because it'll usually show you a picture, especially if it's a food word like this one was. Okay, so that is one thing you can do, because Google Translate for me just doesn't seem to cut it usually. So I would just Google the word because it very well may be a food issue that does not show in a dictionary. But the other source, especially for people who are new to this class, is this right here, word reference. This is, and you know what? I'm going to see if they put champurrado in here. Do they? They do. They do put it in there. Okay. And you see, actually, some people do put rum in there. Some people make it non-alcoholic. So some food words will show up in word reference. I'm not going to say all of them do, but a lot of them do. But word reference is, for me, much better than Google Translate. One of the reasons it is much better is that it gives you an idea of what countries that word may be used in, because there are many dialects and just words that appear in one variation of Spanish from one region versus another. Because of differences in food and drink and all that sort of thing that we are used to. So word reference is a good thing to go back to. Sí, Débora.
Yeah, are you limiting our questions to just the recipe? Because I had a question about the teacher that gave us the 14 better phrases to use.
Oh, okay. Let's do the video first, and then I'll
Okay.
take and then we'll move on to that. Gracias, Débora. Hay otra pregunta del video. Was there any other question about the recipe video? And a lot of these questions come up because of specialized food things, that kind of thing. Okay, nada. Okay, Débora, your other question, which was about the vocabulary issues, right?
Yes.
Okay, vale.
That teacher is teaching European Spanish.
He is right. He is from Spain.
I really like the way he teaches. Is there someone comparable like that for I don't know what you would call it, like Mexican Spanish? I don't know what you call it.
Oh, okay. So you're like a Mexican. There are many. There is one very good duo of guys. However, they go pretty fast.
They speak fast, or they go through material fast? Because I can slow the speed down.
More that they speak fast.
Okay, I can just slow it down.
So one good reference would be, and these are YouTube channels, No hay tos. No hay, Hay, tos, Tos. No hay tos. They have sometimes they publish little shorty lessons, but they do speak pretty quickly. They can get into some of the nitty-gritty, kind of not super polite things from time to time. If you're a sensitive person to that, I just want to throw that out there.
Repeto YouTube site.
What, the YouTube site?
Yeah.
You know what? I will send a link to their YouTube site in my email for end of class
Grazie.
so that you can easily look them up. There are some others. Actually, I will give you like 2 or 3 references that will deal just with Mexican or Latin American Spanish. ¿Sí? Bien? Vale.
Bien.
Bien. And you can kind of, cruise that for topics of interest. Generally, you wind up having to subscribe to the website, which isn't a fee, it's just that it sends you notifications. And once you subscribe, you can get into the whole website and see the different topics and like plug in a search for like a particular topic if you're looking for that. Bien. Okay. Vale. Hay otra pregunta. Is there any other question about the recipe thing or anything there? No? Okay. Entonces, siguiente. Bueno, les envié, I sent you guys, les envié instrucciones de hablar, de preparar algo para hablar de como 3 o 4 cosas, 3 o 4 actividades que haces en orden. Things that you do in order or as steps. It doesn't have to be strictly a recipe thing like she did. But I'll put our examples on from last week so that can kind of refresh your memory. Bien. And to make it easier, it's good to think of it as keep it in the like just a present tense verb construction or that future. So that's why I've got the blue and the red, right? Aquí, en azul, in blue, we've got a plain old present tense verb. So that just means conjugating the verb in a present tense form. And as you have many, many examples in the video where she put it into that near future, the ir, a, and infinitive, you can do that as well. Okay, so aquí, algunos ejemplos, some examples, ¿sí? Hago mi taza de café, presente. I make my cup of coffee. Tomo una taza cerámica del gabinete. I take a ceramic cup out of the cabinet. Voy a poner el café en la cafetera. I'm going to put, and there is the future version, en rojo, in red. Voy a poner. And with voy a poner, the only thing I am conjugating is really ir, right? Into voy, vas, va, vamos, or van, depending on who does that action. So it can be anything at all. You can have any kind of activity that you want to talk about. Voy a empezar, I'm going to start, voy a empezar con un ejemplo. 3 cosas que hago todas las mañanas. Les doy de comer a los gatos, las mascotas. Les doy de comer. I feed them. The way we say feed, like an animal, les, because I'm doing it to them, right? But I'm doing it. Les doy de comer. Doy de comer. I give of eating. It's the way they say feed. Doy de comer a los gatos. La segunda cosa, limpio las cajas de arena, the sandboxes, litter boxes. Limpio las cajas de arena para los gatos. Y 3, Riego, I water, riego las plantas en mi jardín, ¿sí? O, o digamos el huerto, our veggie garden, ¿sí? Riego, I water. Bueno, ¿cuáles son actividades que hacen ustedes? What are some activities that you guys do? ¿Hay alguien que quiere? Ok, Débora, ¿quieres empezar?
Ah,
Bien.
Compró boletos. No, that's it. Por el Día de los Muertos.
Sí, sí, sí. Día de Muertos, muy importante. Una celebración importante y que vemos, which we see, que vemos aquí en Arizona con frecuencia. Bien, algo más, Débora.
Número uno, voy a buscar horas y fechas.
Ujú.
Correct?
Voy a buscar, I'm going to look for,
Yeah.
ok,
Times and dates.
sí,
Horas y fechas.
horas y
Um,
fechas.
Revisaré mi calendario. I will check my calendar.
I'm going to show you an easier way to say that.
Okay.
Correcto, that's correct. But that is like a proper future tense. So I'm going to pop this on the screen, Deborah. Okay. Vamos a ver un momento. Instead of revisaré, and revisar, let's take a look at just the verb that we're using, the core of that verb, the basic form that doesn't tell you
Revisar.
anything yet. Yeah. Revisar es, it looks like, oh, it sounds like revise. It looks like revise. It does kind of mean revise. It means to check out, to look at, to look something over, to check it out. So, revisaré, momento. Revisaré es futuro. That is future. But then that means you got to know how to conjugate future tense. I can't get my
Okay.
keyboard to line up. Hang on here. Revisaré. That is proper future tense. But that
So,
entails that you have to know that for future tense, we retain the whole infinitive, and now we got a different set of conjugations that are not the o, as, a, amos, or an, or the er, ir versions of o, es, hemos, or imos, and en. Okay, so an easier way to do that is to use that ir plus a plus infinitive. And this is a much more conversational thing
okay.
anyway. It's what they're going to use anyway. So the easier way to say that is voy, because there's my ir, right?
Mm-hmm.
Voy a revisar. You see how much easier this is?
Uh-huh.
You don't have to look up, how do I do future?
Okay, so
Well, if you're going to say,
voy a revisar
bien,
mi calendario.
mi calendario.
So I'll check
Exacto. Sí, sí,
my,
sí.
okay, elijo la mejor fecha y
Elijo,
compro
I choose, elijo, and we need to spell it that way. Elijo la mejor, the best. Fecha, date on the calendar. ¿Sí?
Y compro el boletos.
Y compro los boletos. Bien.
That could be number 3.
Bien. Fantástico. Muy bien. But here we've got a voy a revisar. I'm going to, right? Elijo. Here we've got a plain old present tense. Elijo. Y compro. And another plain old present tense. ¿Sí? Bien. Excelente. Sí. Muy bien. Muy bien. So don't bother with proper future tense because most people just chit-chatting back and forth are going to use that ir, and a second infinitive. And the second infinitive doesn't have to be conjugated. Bien. ¿Hay más, Deborah, o no? Anything more on
No,
yours?
fini.
Okay. Fantástico.
todo.
Gracias por compartir. Thank you for sharing. Gracias por compartir. ¿Quién más? Who else?
I have one.
Julie, let's take you next.
Más de tres pasos.
Okay.
¿Ok?
Bien, bien, sí,
Pa-
excelente.
Pasos para reemplazar una planta muerta.
Oh, replacing a dead plant.
Voy a retirar la planta muerta de la maceta.
Retira, sí.
Sí.
And sacar might be an easier, sacar, take out. Sí,
Ok.
bien.
Compro una planta nueva.
Compro una planta. Bien.
Voy a cavar una olla más grande que la planta nueva.
Cavar. Cavar es.
Dig out. Oh,
Voy a,
Dig, dig.
voy a retirar la nueva planta del contenedor.
Sí, bien.
Coloco la planta nueva en el olla.
Okay. In the hole.
Añado suficiente tierra para llenar completamente el espacio alrededor de la cepillón.
Okay, sí. Añado, I add. Añado suficiente tierra. I add enough dirt. Yeah, tierra means land or can mean the whole earth if you capitalize it. But tierra can mean just the soil too. We use it to talk about just the soil. Bien, Julie.
Uno
¿Qué
más. Voy a regar la planta nueva.
Voy a regar, voy a regar. Regar is to water, see? And regar does have a some change, but you don't have to know that to use it as voy a regar. Voy a regar, I'm going to water. Excelente. Buenos pasos, good steps. Me gusta mucho. Ok, bien. Bueno, Larry, ¿tienes algo?
Bueno, leer mi libro favorito.
Okay, now let's do something with leer. Let's do something with leer. I'll put that up on the screen, Larry, so we can take a look at that. Leer by itself tells us an action, but it doesn't tell us who is going to do it.
Oh,
So we're going to change that somehow. We're either going to conjugate it in present, or we're going to use the ir, a, and then leer stays just leer. So we're going to do one of those two things. Shall we look at both of them?
Yeah.
See? Okay. If I just want to say I'm reading or I read, generally I read, right? It's part of my routine. I read every morning. Leo. Now that tells me who does it. Right? Leer mean with leer, I need to take off that ER and to say that I do it. Luckily, all of the most of the yo conjugations, the conjugations that talk about me doing it, and an o, like yo ends in o. So, leo, ¿sí? Leo un libro, ¿sí? O el periódico, newspaper, whatever. If I want to do that as the future, the conversational future, I'm going to read voy a leer. And there I don't need to conjugate the leer, right? I can just leave that as it is because it's okay in there. Bien, Larry. Siguiente, next.
Selecto mi libro favorito.
Okay, bien.
Encontrar mi silla favorito.
Okay, and let's take our encontrar. Let's take our encontrar and let's do the same thing. Let's do the same thing. You guys can see my screen, right? See?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Instead of just encontrar, we're going to tell who finds that comfy chair. Bien? Okay. So, you might think, oh, I just take off the AR from encontrar to find, but it is not encontro. I need to do something with this. This is a funny verb that is called a stem changer. So I need to change that O into this two vowel combo to make it a yo. So essentially, I'm doing two changes in a stem changer. One, the ending that has to be for all conjugated verbs, but this little central vowel, that O, splits off into two vowels, okay? So encuentro, encuentro. And Larry, I want you to check out and see if you can do the voy a structure with that.
I'm sorry, I missed.
Yeah. Can you tell me what we'll do with encontrar to say I'm going to find?
Mi Silvia favorita.
Well, before the mi silla favorita, so look up above at what we did with leo and voy a leer, and we're going to do the same thing with your encontrar. Encuentro or
Voy a encontrar.
excelente, sí, voy a encontrar. Uy, momento, lo siento. Trying to get my thing to shut off there. Voy a encontrar. ¿Sí? Mi silla favorita, mi sillón favorito, algo así. Bien, excelente. ¿Algo más, Larry? Anything else?
Inicio leer.
Oh, I start to read? Okay,
Sí.
let's find iniciar is an okay verb. It looks like initiate. Oh, yay. I make an association, but I'm going to show you a different verb that will be much more common to hear. Okay. Iniciar is kind of a formal, I start, like, okay, if you read in an English book, he initiated the process, or in a report, he initiated the process. That's a real formal way of saying it, right? But if you're just chit-chatting with people, you're not likely to say he initiated the process. You're likely to say he started the process, yeah, or he began the process, or I started to read. Okay, so we're going to show you a more common verb, a verb that other people are more likely to use and to say, hey, that sounds normal. So instead of iniciar, which is a perfectly good verb, but it's very, very formal, yeah, we're going to use empezar. And that means to start, to begin. Okay. And it's an AR verb. But if you're going to say I begin, we know that those end in O for yo, right? This, like encontrar, like that O in encontrar has a stem change, this E here is also going to have a stem change. And that means that vowel is going to split out into a double vowel sound when I conjugate it. So instead of empiezo, which you would think you do, you take off the AR and you add an O to say that I do it. We have to do something to this in between because it is in the category, and this is just arbitrary. It's just a system they have that is called stem changing verbs. Certain verbs, you just have to know which ones they are, get a stem change. E often changes into this combination, IE, and it becomes empiezo. And I'm going to highlight that E because it's a lot of vowels. That's kind of a mouthful of vowels. Empiezo. Empiezo a leer. Empiezo a leer. Empiezo a leer. I'm going to start to read. Bien? ¿Sí?
Sí.
Okay.
Question, are you going to send out the slides that you just did there?
Yeah, I'll send, that's all going to be tacked on to the end of the file, but I'll
Okay.
send the link for that again. Sí.
This, número cuatro.
Okay.
Entonces, tomar un siesta.
Tomo una siesta. I take a nap. Eso, sí. Entonces, tomo una fiesta. Tomo una fiesta.
Tomo.
So you want to make sure, Larry, one thing you want to make sure of is that instead of just using the infinitive, right? If you just use tomar, I won't say it confuses people. It's just that they don't know who's doing the action. So you need to remember to conjugate that. See? Tomo una fiesta, or una siesta, perdón. Tomo una siesta. I take a nap.
Bueno.
Okay, bien, sí. Bien. I'm going to give you a second verb you sometimes hear for take a nap, which may not be the first term you look up, but it is a common verb that is used. Tomo una siesta is perfectly fine, but notice with tomo, because of that conjugation, that special, ending of the verb, that tells us who is doing the action, right? If I only use tomar, nobody knows who's doing that. Yeah. And we don't have this, we don't have a system as rigorous as this in English, right? When you say take a nap, it can be take or takes. And in English, that's enough. But in Spanish, that's not enough. It needs to go into more different kinds of forms, which is what we call the conjugations, right? And those endings at the end of the verbs will tell us if yo, I am doing the action, if tú, you, the person I'm talking to, is doing the action, if one person by themselves is doing the action, if a group of people together are doing the action, or if we are doing the action. And the we, the nosotros, means that I am in a group with people, that yo, I am not alone, that I have people doing this with me, right? That's the meaning of nosotros, we, right? So in English, we just say, I take, you take, we take, she takes. The system is more complicated in Spanish. So a different verb other than tomar una siesta is this one, and this sounds really natural. Echar, echar una siesta. Echar una siesta means the same thing. Echar literally by itself means to throw something, and you don't throw a nap, obviously, but it's just a way that they say. So, Larry, I want you to see if you can see from the patterns we have with encuentro, empiezo, leo. See if you can change echar into an I'm doing it form.
Oh.
Just the word echar. We take off the AR.
Echo?
Well, it looks like echo, but we pronounce it differently.
Echo.
Hecho. Yeah, hecho. It looks like echo, the spelling of the English word, but it's pronounced hecho. Hecho. And then hecho tells everybody, then they know automatically, yo, I am doing that. Hecho una siesta. Okay. Bien? Bien. Okay. Let me give this a title so that you know where to find that in the slides later on. Okay. Excelente. ¿Entiendes? And you know what? I'm going to include in our email, end of class email, I'm going to include an extra video that has a review of how to conjugate very, very common verbs. Kind of like really basic, you must know these verbs in present tense. And Larry, that'll be a good one for you to check out so that you see all those different forms and how we change those little verbs so that they tell us who is doing the action. Bien,
Gracias.
bien. Gracias. ¿Algo más, Larry? Anything else on your side?
No.
No, ok, vale, perfecto. Muy bien, muy bien. ¿Quién más? Who else has something to share? 3 o 4 pasos. Andrew, sí, bien.
Me desayuno todos los días.
Desayuno?
Yes.
Desayuno. I eat breakfast. And let me pop this up on the screen so you can see again and follow along. So he is taking desayunar, but he knows he's got to change that. So it becomes desayuno. That says I do this todos los días. And that information tells us just when.
Yeah.
Todos los días, every day.
Every day.
Bien, bueno, ¿qué más, Andrew?
Seca un bagel del refrigerador.
Saco, I take out.
Yeah.
Sacar, to take out. To take something out of something else. Sí, saco. Saco, and then your item. Sí. Un bagel?
Mhm.
Un bagel.
Um,
Del refrigerador.
Separar con cuidado las dos mitades.
That one I need a little help on. Which is your verb there?
Separa, S-E-P-A-R-A, separate.
Oh, separar. I separate. Sí, separar. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay. To separate. Okay, and all I need to do is take off the AR and make it a yo form. Separo. Separo.
Las dos mitades.
Okay, bien, bien. ¿Algo más? Anything else?
Lego tiesta la bagel.
I'm not clear on that one. Which verb are you using there? Lo siento. Sorry.
Tuesta. Tuesta. Toast.
Uh, mm. Otra
I think
vez. I'm sorry.
Tuesta.
Tostar. Sí, from tostar. Tuesto. Sí. ¿Tuesto?
Yes.
Okay. Tuesto las piezas. I toast the pieces. Sí. Bien.
Después pan mantequilla in el bagel.
Help me out with that one again. I'm sorry. Lo siento.
Ponmatequilla.
Pomate?
Yeah, butter.
Peterman.
Oh, mantequilla?
Yes.
Okay. Probably what you really want there is poner mantequilla. I put butter, see? And this one is an odd verb. Most of the time you take off the ER and it would be pono, but pono is not the yo form. This verb is an odd one only for yo. The other conjugations are what you would expect them to be for an ER verb. But for this, it is what they call for English learners the go verbs. And the go verbs like tengo, salgo, vengo. Those go verbs use a go for the yo ending, not just the o. Pongo mantequilla. Pongo mantequilla en el bagel, ¿sí?
Yeah.
Pongo mantequilla. Ok, bien. Y eso, that's, I think if we're at the butter, yeah, we're at the...
Yeah. Yeah.
Eso,
Yeah.
bien. Bien, ok, vale. Gracias por compartir. And, we had a few irregulars in there, but most of them were easy to conjugate verbs. Ok, vale. ¿Alguien más? Somebody else? Sí. Cindy.
I did mine in a little bigger steps.
Okay.
So, todos los días me levanto temprano y preparo café.
Okay. Y aquí, me levanto and me levanto temprano. Lo siento. La última parte, last part.
Preparo
Y preparo
café.
un café. Preparo café o preparo un café. Depende. Depends on, you see? Preparo café, preparo un café. And the preparo was very, very easy. This me levanto, for some of you, may look a little more advanced. Why is there is a me in front of it? The me levanto is what we call a reflexive verb, and that means it is something that we do with our own bodies or on our own person. Okay, and when I get up, I actually do the effort of raising my whole body up. That needs a little me pronoun in front of it. It still gets the levanto with the o at the end to tell us that yo is doing the action, but it also needs a me to accompany it. Okay, levanto by itself without the me means I am lifting something up, like they use this verb levantar for lifting weights, por ejemplo, ¿sí? Or if you were to lift a suitcase, you would use levantar. But me levanto means I get myself up. Me levanto temprano y preparo un café. Bueno, Cindy, ¿qué más?
Entonces disfruto mi café al cantos de los perros y en la paz de la mañana.
Okay. Disfruto de mi café. I enjoy my coffee. ¿Sí? ¿Bien?
¿Sí?
Okay. Bueno, ¿qué más?
Tengo tiempo para estudiar.
Tengo tiempo. Sí, I have time.
Estudiar y leer, responder correos y mensajes, ordenar la casa y relajarme.
Sí, bien. Okay, so now we've got a series of a lot of other things that you do, but that is fine. Tengo tiempo para. I have time to do something, right? Y para. And notice after the para, I have time. That para is kind of like saying in order to. Yeah. Tengo tiempo para. I have time to, and then do all this stuff, right? And now we've got a long list of all the stuff. Tengo tiempo para estudiar y leer y responder a correos y mensajes y todo eso. Bien. Bueno, ¿hay más, Cindy? More?
Uno, sí.
Bien, bien.
Alrededor de las 9 de la mañana, mi esposo se levanta y mi mundo cambia.
Mi esposo se levanta. And we're going to make this just a little bit easier. You had an alrededor, so we're just going to say later to make that a little bit easier for folks to understand. Después, mi esposo se levanta. Now we're not talking about what I do. And here's a great, great change for you to see. She changed from I do, me levanto, disfruto, tengo, to what somebody else does. And when somebody else does something, it can't be a yo form. It's got to be the form that tells me one person is doing this. It can be any one person. In this case, it's mi esposo, my husband. And for levantar, an AR verb, we get an a ending, just the a. Se levanta. Mi esposo se levanta y mi mundo cambia.
Sí.
And my world changes. And even this is a conjugation, right? What's changing? It's not a human being. It's this whole concept of mi mundo, my world. Cambia comes from cambiar, to change. Y mi mundo cambia Y entiendo perfectamente, Cindy, porque es lo mismo, the same, lo mismo aquí, ¿sí? Mi esposo se levanta y todo cambia, ¿sí? Ah, mi esposo normalmente, mi esposo se levanta como a las 9 para trabajar en su oficina. O si mi esposo tiene una reunión para su trabajo, ¿sí? Quizás se levanta a las 7:30, a las 8 de la mañana, pero normalmente a las 9. Hoy no es un horario normal. Today is not a normal schedule. Hoy mi esposo tiene unos días de vacaciones.
Ah,
Ah, así que son las 10 y él no se levanta. No se levanta. Él no se levanta. No tiene que levantarse para trabajar hoy, ¿sí? Y yesterday, ¿sí? Mi esposo y yo y dos amigas hicimos una caminata muy difícil. We did a really hard hike. Hicimos una caminata muy difícil de más de 1,000 pies de altura, 1,000 feet up. 1,000 pies de altura, ¿sí? Así que hoy mi esposo tiene sueño después de una caminata muy difícil, muy difícil. Ok, bien. Y él no se levanta, no se levanta. Bien. Ah, bueno. ¿Algo más, Cindy, o no?
no, es
No,
todo.
nada, es todo, es todo. Bien, bien, gracias. ¿Alguien más? Anybody else got a couple of things? Bueno, Marcos.
It's a little similar to Andrew's, but I'll kind of pick some different parts here.
Bien.
Uh, mi desayuno favorito es un bagel con el salmón ahumado.
Magnífico, sí.
El paquete de salmón tiene unas 12 onzas que corto en 6 porciones y meto 5 porciones en Tupperware para, para comer otros días.
Sí. Okay. And so what I want you to notice, el paquete de salmón, well, now we're not talking about a human being doing anything, are we? We're talking about what something has. But whatever, even if the person doing the action, if it isn't a person, yeah? If it's just this package of salmon we have to conjugate it for a singular thing. And that singular thing can't be yo. So he's got a tiene. El paquete de salmón tiene, and then he talks about quantities, amounts, right? See? Okay, continúa, por favor.
Corto un bagel y lo meto en la tostadora durante unos 5 minutos.
Sí, lo meto en la tostadora. I put it inside of the toaster. See? And then we have 5 minutos, 5 minutos, 5 minutos. Okay, bien.
It's getting noisy here. Just got one more sentence.
Está bien, that's okay.
Mientras el bagel está en la tostadora, corto un tomate y preparo una taza de café helado con sweetener.
Sí. Corto un tomate y preparo una taza de café. Sí, bien. Okay. So we switch from the packet has, and then we were talking about a certain amount, but it's a singular thing, even though it's not a human, to a yo form again. Yo meto, sí, corto, I cut, y preparo. Bien. Magnífico. Muy bien. Muy bien. Excelente. Bueno, buenos pasos, good pasos muy lógicos, very logical steps. Me gusta mucho. Bueno, ¿quién más? Who else has some steps to share? ¿Algo? ¿O no? ¿Nada?
Nada.
Nothing else. Okay. Bien. Fantástico. So there are, of course, different ways we can talk about present tense. What I am going to send you so that you can see, this is going to be your review so that you can kind of see what the review is going to look like. The review for present tense verbs, just talking about who is doing something in the here and now. Okay. Is going to be this guy here, se llama Nate. His name is Nate. And he's going to go over common verbs like ser, like estar. So this is a review. You may not all need to look at this. If you need to look at the forms of these, consult this. Like ir, right? Like tener, like querer, to want, like hacer, to do or to make. See? ¿Cuál es? Which one is this one? ¿Cuál es? I can't remember. Okay. But anyway, that's what it'll look like. And he's that. If you need that, watch it. If you don't need that, because you're good on the basics, don't look at the review video. See? Depende, it depends on whether you need that or not. Fantástico. Okay. Rutinas. So routines. Why do we have these conjugations? Why are these such a pain in the, you know where? Yeah. Why are they such a pain? Well, they are a pain for English learners. They are one of the stumbling blocks that is, a tough one because we do have conjugations in English, but we have fewer of them. And we depend much, much more on just using the name of the person doing the action. And in Spanish, they don't always use a pronoun or a name of a person to tell us who is doing the action. If it is already established at the beginning of the conversation from context, that's often omitted, and then they just conjugate the verb to tell who is doing an activity. So learning the verb conjugations is really, really fundamental because it tells you one of three things. Conjugations in Spanish exist for a reason. They tell you, first of all, what just the action is, right? Tomar, to take or drink or eat something, or preparar, to prepare something, right? The verb, once you conjugate it, also tells you who is doing the action, right? And that means they often won't name the person doing something. So when all you've got to look at or to listen to is a verb, that verb, the action it is and who is doing it, that's all rolled into one. And the third thing we need to think about is it tells us the time frame. It tells us when that action happens. So the verb tells us who's doing it, what the basic action is, of course, and when it's being done. Because we flip back and forth in time in English constantly, right? I shop on Wednesdays. I'm going to shop. I shopped, right? I shopped last week, and then we have lots of irregular things that come into the mix too. So, irregular verbs like go, right? I'm going to the store, but I went to the store. How do you get from go to went in English? Yeah, it's an irregular verb. And Spanish is going to have irregular verbs too. But the core of it is that those conjugations are very, very challenging because it means we need a bunch of different forms of the same verb. And those forms are called what we call conjugations. So what I want to spend some time showing you now, because you're going to hear it, you heard a little bit. Actually, let's go back to our initial video because there is a little bit of this that creeps in. And I'm going to show you how it creeps in. Here's why it's important to know. In English, your brain, for all your life, has learned to seamlessly talk about whether something is happening now or future or way back in the past. You don't even think about it. Okay, you maybe might think about it if your kid or grandkid at age 1.5, age 2 years old, makes this common 2-year-old statement of, Mommy, Daddy go to store? Daddy go to store? And when your 2-year-old or your grandkid who's in that age, it says, oh, Daddy go to store? You say, oh, honey, Daddy went to the store, right? You don't give him a long lecture on why goad isn't correct. Did you know what he meant? You did. But yeah, you understood that he just applied some rule wrong and you just told him the right way to do it. Okay. So, but see, we seamlessly, once we correct ourselves from that age of 2 on, we just do this without thinking. Yeah. And in Spanish, we have to think about those rules. So I'm going to show you a chunk of this video again to show you how she transitions and why we're going to have this little next set of lessons. Uy, momentito. Sometimes that transition from present to past in Spanish is going to be a tough one. Oops, and let me make sure I've got my sound on. ¿Tengo el sonido? Sí, lo tengo. I have it. Okay. And she's going to start. I'm going to leave the subtitles on so you can see it and hear it and we can pause it. And she's going to start in present.
Tiene más consistencia.
The mix has more consistency. And
Ya
it's
no
presente, present, tiene, it has, right? She's not talking about yo, what I have. She's talking about the mix, that stuff in the bowl has.
está tan líquida.
Ya no está tan líquida. It's no longer so runny.
Right.
Yeah, it no longer is so much liquid. Yeah. And she uses estash because she's talking about la mezcla, the mix.
Un poco más espesa. Ok,
Un poco más, it's a little thicker. Espesa is thick.
continuamos leyendo.
And now, instead of estamos leyendo, we are reading, she says, continuamos. We continue reading, right? Continuamos. Let's continue reading.
Añada el resto de la leche.
And this is kind of a command. She's reading from the directions, right? A recipe has directions. Often they're kind of like commands. Hey, do this, do this, do this. And here's a command. Añada, add, right? What you should do. Add, añada. Añada el resto. Add the rest of the
Recipe.
So,
And notice all of this is like all of these are in the spirit, in the general context of this is happening right now, right? Right? All what's happening right now.
Esto necesita más leche. Dios.
This needs more.
milk.
This thing, she's talking about la mezcla, the mixture. Esto necesita, this needs. Okay? It needs more milk.
Dios. Va a
Oh my God, oh my God.
quedar muy, muy líquido.
It's going to be really, really runny. Líquido, it's going to be very liquidy. Well, we don't say liquidy, but you might say thin or you might say runny, yeah? Bien.
Añada el resto de la leche hasta
Add the rest of the milk.
que quede una especie de atole.
Oh, until it's kind of like an atole. And now she's going to show the picture of this drink called atole.
Esto es el atole. El atole tiene una consistencia como espesa, un poco más espesa, no tan líquida.
So atole, it has a consistency that's a little thicker, not so runny.
En mi vida he tomado atole, pero yo creo
And now she flips into a past already. Uh-oh. Not just tomar, but he tomado. En mi vida, in my life. And now she's using the phrase of, have you ever done something? And she says, yeah, I have. So it's kind of in the past. Have you ever? I have done something. He tomado means I have had atole. He tomado atole. I've had atole. And that's a mistake with AI, that atole is all supposed to be one word together, atole.
Creo que con la persona que más tomé atole fue precisamente con mi tita.
And now she flips into past. So we're going to show you some other past. It'll be a little bit easier to understand.
Tita, todas las mañanas cuando despertábamos y dormíamos en su casa,
My grandma, and now she's talking what we used to do. If you're talking about what you used to do with your grandma or used to do with your mom or dad, you didn't do it generally just once. What we used to do was something we did a lot, right? And there is one specific kind of conjugation pattern that tells us a past that means used to do a lot over and over again. But you know what? I don't know how many times. It was just all the time. And this is a special type of past that English only conveys with the idea or the phrase used to or was doing. And so notice what happens to the verb. Instead of despertar, wake up, mi tita, my grandma, mi tita, todas las mañanas, all the mornings. And now here, that todas las mañanas is a trigger. It's a timeline trigger. If she did it every morning, over and over and over again, we need the over and over and over again in the past verb form. And it's cuando despertábamos, when she woke us up, y dormíamos en su casa, and when we slept in her house.
Ella nos preparaba muchas cosas para desayunar.
She used to do what? You can guess it from preparar. She used to prepare, and here's the for us, right? In English, we say prepare for us, usually. In Spanish, the order of the words is us, for us. She used to prepare. Nos, for us, that's not the verb yet. Preparaba, she used to prepare. Muchas cosas para desayunar. She used to prepare us lots of things for breakfast. Okay? And so she switched from, this mix has a consistency, it needs more milk, it needs something to, grandma used to wake us up and grandma used to fix us. So now you're seeing why, the reason why, or you're seeing examples of how the verb, she's changing from the mode of this is the way the recipe is now to what I used to do with grandma.
Y le gustaba preparar atole por las mañanas.
And she liked preparing atole. And notice there's a mistake in the AI that atole is supposed to be all one word.
Mañanas. Una delicia, una delicia.
Yeah, a delicacy.
Y es la única referencia de atole o de champurrado que yo tengo. Así que,
and now she flips back to present. The only recipe for these two drinks, atole, champurrado, que tengo, that I have, and you switch back to present because she's talking about what I have in my hands right now.
necesito regresar muchos años atrás, cuando tenía 10 años, 8.
And I need to go back many years ago when I was 10. And when I was 10 years old cannot be I am 10 years old. Tengo 10 años. It has to be when I was 10 years old. Tenía 10 años.
7 años para recordar cómo era la consistencia
And I got to go back like to when I was 10 years old or 8 years old or 7 years old to remember that this was the consistency
del atole.
of
Ok,
atole.
creo que ahora tiene
So what I wanted to show you there is that just like in English, we, without thinking, flip around from into time, flip from now to future to we do that without thinking. They're going to do that in Spanish, but that now is going to become a little more, well, a much more, to be very honest, much more complex kind of process. So what we want to do is break down that process because some folks did ask for this. And we are going to just kind of give you an idea. Now, why are we doing this? Because in many of these videos that do storytelling, you are occasionally going to hear people flipping back and forth into saying things happened at different times. So what you want to do right now is just to absorb that there is a past tense, and actually there are, if I'm going to be really exact, this many. I'm going to be really exact. I could even say this many past tenses. But you know what? What you really need to know is this. There are 2. And so occasionally when you hear storytelling videos, you're going to hear them using some of these past words. And you want to be able to, right now, recognize, not necessarily produce, speak, but to recognize, oh, that's a past verb. It means the action is over with. It isn't happening now, but it did happen at some point in time. At the end, and the at some point in time is going to be where we're going to actually start our journey, because this is something that's going to take some time to wrap our brains around. Okay. Momentito, I need to pull up yet another screen. Okay, here's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to do this again, not necessarily to produce right away. I know you probably want to, but it's kind of necessary to get the general idea of why these things happen first. Not to produce, but to recognize. Our goal, or your goal, let's say your goal, is to recognize when someone is talking about an action in the past. Okay? An action in the past. So your goal is not necessarily to be able to seamlessly use all of these yet, but to recognize, oh, now they're talking about it's in the past. Okay, here's the hard part to realize, to understand. And I maybe need to make this a little bit bigger. See, okay. In Spanish, there are really more than 2, but we're going to make it this is a streamlined way of explaining it. There are 2 past tenses. There are 2 things that indicate that an action is in the past, right? And both have their own set of conjugations. So now, things are kind of becoming exponentially difficult. But here's the thing to understand first, okay? One past tense, and for English speakers, we call this pretérito. Pretérito really just means preterito, but pretérito, sometimes This has many grammatical terms in Spanish, and that's not important for you to know. But what we call pretérito, one past tense, indicates that an event or that an action was a one-time event. Okay, it happened at a specific time, and boom, it's over. Okay, like I charged the car if I have a plug-in car, or I filled the gas tank because I put gas in that gas tank. You know, if somebody says I'm going to fill the gas tank, you know it hasn't happened yet, right? But if somebody says, hey, I filled the gas tank, you know, oh, it's done. So here's what you want to know. You want to recognize when somebody uses the verb fill, going to fill versus filled. You just want to recognize that that transition is happening from future or present to past. That's all we want to do for today. And that will take time. Okay, so be patient and really good to yourselves. So one past tense is called this term, pretérito, or we're going to call it that for English purposes. Okay, game. And it indicates that something is very, very marked and specific as to when it happened. It happened. We know there was a definite beginning and an end. Wait a minute, if it's past, isn't it over anyway? But yeah, trust me, it's a one-time event, all right? And here's the thing to know, a one-time event, right? That is what this tense does. So already we got something that, you know, in English, we need to do that with adding other phrases, like I filled the gas tank yesterday, or I filled the gas tank at 7 a.m. You know, we need to like add some sort of a time context to fully say that. Okay, another past tense, and it will have different conjugations, but it's called this, imperfecto. Indicates an action happened either repeatedly or many times, and we don't know how often. You know what? Let me make that a little bit easier. Happened repeatedly or frequently. But the idea is it happened more than once. And I really don't know how many times. It isn't important that I tell you how many times. But here's the key. In English, we often use this as used to, right? I used to wake up at 6 a.m. when I taught in school. I used to drive 15 miles to get to my work office in Tempe. Used to. In English, we often use this as used to, okay? We're going to add one other idea here. Imperfecto is also used to describe for actions that are descriptive in the past, okay? And I'll show you two examples of that, okay? And both of these examples key into this idea of repeatedly or frequently, but we don't know how often. We don't know how. If I say I filled the gas tank yesterday, yeah, or I filled the gas tank at 7 a.m. this morning, that's not the same as saying this idea, which is still in the past. I want to describe the mountains. I want to describe the mountains from my hike yesterday. The mountains were beautiful. They were beautiful. That's a past idea, right? So I could convey the same idea by using present. Las montañas son hermosas. I can use present tense son, but what if I want to say they were? The mountains were beautiful is not like saying I filled my gas tank. How often were the mountains beautiful? I filled my gas tank at 8 a.m. I know a time, but the mountains were beautiful. Well, when? They just were, right? They just were. So for descriptions in the past, we also need to use this other kind of past tense called the imperfecto. So this is going to become something that sounds like this. Las montañas eran, not son, they are, but they were, eran hermosas. Because saying that something was beautiful or something was tall or something was red, was blue, was green, it's fuzzy as to when in the past. It's not a one-time event. Yeah. It's a description, beautiful, right? And I can't fix that to one point in time that has a beginning that we can see and an ending we can see. Fill the tank, I can peg that to beginning and end process, okay? So here's the hard part. There are two oops. Bold these. There are two kinds of past tenses, and you are going to hear these when people flip-flop one way or the other. They have two separate types of endings. We're going to take a look at some simple forms. You're going to get this whole list here,
Right.
so that you can recognize them. Your objective right now is not to use all of them, to recognize when you hear them used. Okay, if we're looking at pretérito, preterite tense, it's going to have one set of conjugations. Just like present tense has AR verbs, ER verbs, IR verbs, past tense is also going to split off into AR verbs and then ER, IR verbs. Now, in preterite, ER and IR are always going to share the same kind of endings. Yay. They'll be the same. And ARs will share the same kind of endings. So instead of O for yo, as, AS for tú, a for an AR verb, for él, ella, usted. Amos, we have something that's the same. And vosotros we're going to ignore because that's only used in Spain. And an, instead of those present tense endings, we're going to have these for AR verbs. We take off the AR, but we have to have an E. Okay, I'm going to plug in an example. Hablé. Not I am speaking, but I spoke. Yeah? Hablé. Hablé con mi sobrino. I spoke with my nephew. Hablé con mi sobrino ayer. I spoke with my nephew yesterday. And hablé, you will not hear a yo used with it most of the time because everybody knows that with a punch at the end, and that punch, that accent mark on the is important. It's important because hablé with no accent mark, which is pronounced a little bit differently, hablé means something entirely different. Hablé means I did it. Is an ending for regular, notice, regular preterite verbs in AR. right? For hablar, an AR verb, an example for tú, like you spoke, it's hablaste. Hablaste. You spoke, okay? For he or she spoke, one other person did it. It's habló. But notice you have to punch the O at the end. That is not optional. You have to punch the O. Okay? Bien. Habló. He spoke, she spoke. Yay, you know what? Present tense is going to be exactly like preterite tense, the same form. Hablamos. It does not change. Hablamos is both the present, presente, we are speaking, and the past. Hablamos. Why does it do that? I can't tell you. It just does. So, hablamos is both present and past. Vosotros, you don't have to know, so we're going to skip that for now. And instead of hablan, for they are speaking, it's going to become hablaron. Hablaron. I should have had my, I need to change my color here. Yeah, hablaron. Okay, so hablo, I'm speaking right now. Hable, I talked, I spoke. Hablas, you are doing it right now. Hablaste, you spoke. Habla, one person is talking right now. Habló, one person spoke. See? Hablamos, same. Presente pretérito. Yay, same one. But hablan, an becomes hablaron. They spoke. Okay? Those are just examples of a regular AR verb. We're going to take a look at a regular ER verb. ER and IR are going to share the same ones. We're going to take a really super easy, super generic verb like comer, right? Instead of como, I am eating, it becomes comí, I ate. Yeah. And we don't say I eated, do we? I eated. That's a 2-year-old thing. Yeah. I eated. And I ate. Comí. Comí. Instead of comes, you are eating, it's you ate. Comiste. Comiste. That puts it into the past. Instead of come, he is eating or she is eating, one person is eating, it's comió. Comió. Okay? Instead of comemos, we are eating, it's comimos. We ate. We ate. See? Bien. Okay. We're going to skip our vosotros because that's only in Spain. You don't need to use it here. Nobody in Latin America uses it. And instead of comen, they are eating right now. It's comieron. Comieron. Bien. Perdón. Unos ejemplos. So there are some examples of our pretérito, and we're only going to go that far today. And you just want to be able to recognize when somebody is using it so that you know that if they're saying, I'm driving right now, or I'm going to do it soon, to I drove, that it's over with and done with. See? That's all we're going to look at for today. See?
Okay.
Bien? I think that's a big enough chunk for one day.
I think so.
See?
Yeah.
Bien. But you'll see it's like, uh-oh, I've got different patterns to learn. Yeah. Okay. What I'm going to create for you is a little example of how things are going to go from present to past. And I just want you to recognize where it changes from right now to,
The past.
yeah, that's
Okay.
what I want you to peg. And I'm going to pick easy stuff. And we're only going to focus on, for this weekend, that pretérito, the preterite piece, so that you start to hear that. See? Bien?
Yeah.
Okay. So do know one past tells you event oriented. One One instructor I collaborated with once used to say, if you can write it in your diary as this happened, if you can record it as an event in your diary, it's pretérito. It needs those kind of conjugations. If it's a description in the past, then I can't use that pretérito anymore. I need the different ones. But we'll do that a different week. See? Bien? Okay. We're just going to recognize these easy pretérito. And I don't know yet. I'm going to see if I can pick a specific video that might help you hear some of those here and there, but not be predominantly the whole thing. Sí, bien? All good?
Yeah.
Bien, magnífico. Okay.
Gracias.
Yo, de nada, un
Muchas
placer.
gracias.
Oh, bien, de nada, por nada. No problem. I will have a new listening video. It'll be a story-oriented video, and I will want you to listen to it more than one time and put on the subtitles in Spanish. I want you to see how much you can pick out without looking up a lot of words, but do make a little note of like the minute marker and like if there's a specific word that you really don't get or a specific structure, you're like, what the heck is that? Yeah, that we can help you out with. Okay, todo bien.
Todo bien.
Todo bien, magnífico, muchísimas
Muchas.
gracias. Bien, espero que tengan muy buena semana. I hope you have a really good week.
Thank you.
Yes, igualmente.
Ay,
Gracias.
gracias, muchísimas gracias. Sí, que le vayan bien. Oop, I'm trying to get my controls to turn off. Y por